Okay, so for those of you that were not able to attend the Zoom session on the SAQ assignment, I wanted to give you a breakdown of this assignment to make sure that you do all of the correct pieces. So the reason I gave an SAQ assignment is because it's very possible that the AP exam that you do take will have SAQs, might be all SAQs, and so I want to make sure we get plenty of practice with that. So SAQs, we want to make sure that we are doing them correctly. We're answering the prompt and providing really good evidence. So in this first question, I'm going to be looking at what is each part asking. So I'm going to underline some important words, which is what I always want you to do with your questions. So I'm going to underline Second World War, transformed, and relationship of the United States with the rest of the world. So transform, that is another word for change. So that lets me know that this SAQ is going to be addressing continuity and change over time. Part B, again, it's still Second World War, transform, so we're still change, U.S. society. So I know that that is code for home front. And then C is just a repeat of B. So Second World War transforms U.S. society. All right, so this is definitely, I don't have any doubt now, this is definitely a continuity and change over time prompt. So before I start answering the SAQ, I'm gonna brainstorm a little bit and make sure I have all my information right in my head. So topic and time period, this is pretty straightforward. So it is World War II, and they gave me the years, so 1939 to 1945. But I also, from my knowledge, know that the U.S. enters the war in 1941. For context, listing some keywords, events, ideas, people, anything that you can think of. So this part right here is just where you're going to do a big brain dump of information, so that you are ready to, you may perhaps use some of those terms in the SAQ. All right, so now we're going to start taking a look at what kind of information are we going to put in the prompt. So when I broke down the prompt, I saw that part A was asking me about the relationship with the U.S. and the rest of the world, and part B and C are asking me about home front changes. So for part A, I want to make sure I'm addressing the, get my pen going, make sure I'm addressing the U.S. relationship with the world. And for B and C, I'm going to be addressing home front. All right. Okay, so relevant evidence. So evidence, I'm going to be thinking about terms that would be associated with this. So U.S. and the world, things that change our relationship with the U.S. and the world might be things like Lend-Lease Act, might be Pearl Harbor, for home front, changes could be anything from women in the workforce to Japanese internment, all kinds of things I could talk about in terms of home front changes. All right, and then for this part, for how would you explain this evidence? So how would you explain this evidence to answer the question? So what they want you to do is make sure that when you are explaining these topics, draw the line there. you explain how the term, so whether it's Lend-Lease or Pearl Harbor or Women in the Workforce or whatever, you explain how that term is a change, or the word that they use is transformation. Did not leave myself enough room to write. All right, so you have your brainstorm of your terms, and then over here you explain how that one of those terms represents a change or a transformation for the United States. All right, and for the assignment, you're going to put it all together. You're going to put your full SAQ response in a Google Doc and submit on PeerGrade. We've done a couple assignments on PeerGrade, so you should just be able to log in with your PeerGrade username and ID. If you don't remember that, it's very likely that you signed up for that with your school email address. So the first SAQ, so this first one, you are submitting this one on PeerGrade. All right, for the second SAQ, you're actually only required to answer part A. I have given you parts B and C if you feel like you need the additional practice, since it's possible that this could be how they do assess you on the AP exam. Practicing as much as you can with SAQ prompts could be really, really helpful. But you're only going to answer part A. And you're going to briefly explain, so one of the following conflicts, or why one of the following conflicts best marks a turning point in American foreign policy. So a turning point is basically a change that is almost permanent. So it's almost permanent. It's a change that you don't go back from. You change your ways and it never goes back to the way it used to be. So you're going to choose either the Spanish-American War and explain why it was a turning point. How did the Spanish-American War change American foreign policy? Or you choose World War I or World War II. The goal of this type of SAQ is to figure out, can you establish a historically defensible argument to prove a point? So again, you will do the topic and time period. You would do the brain dump. So you'll answer part A only. You don't have, these are optional. B and C are optional. But much like with college recommendations, optional is often highly recommended. So your evidence, so here, what terms could you use to prove your point? And here, how is this a turning point? So basically, prove your point. All right, so to submit this SAQ, you're going to go to Flipgrid. And I've linked the Flipgrid on the assignment document, or if you can't find it, just shoot me or remind text and I'll send you the link. So Flipgrid, and you are going to record yourself reading your answer to part A. And then you're going to give some feedback to some of your peers. When we do SAQs, I just want to remind you just the requirements for SAQs. All right, so for every SAQ, of course, you have a part A, a part B, and a part C. So for part A, you answer define, describe, and then you give an effect or cause. And then for part B, you do the same thing. Answer, define or describe, and effect. And then for part C, you guessed it, answer, define, describe, and effect. And of course, effect can also be effect or cause. Your goal when you're writing these is to complete the whole thing in 13 minutes, because that's about the amount of time you would have on a traditional AP exam. So feel free to reach out to me with any questions or concerns that you have about the assignment, either through email or through Remind. I'm available on Friday if you need any support with your assignments, links or where to turn things in or whatever.